Hello, everyone. Dr. Glenna here, reminding you that therapy is a lifestyle. I'm doing something a little different today. Normally, I record just for the happy hour, but in lieu of everything that's been going on, and today's happy hour, I specifically talked about the differences between coaches, licensed professionals, and kind of the nuances between the different educational pathways that you can take when you are in the helping profession. And I have some amazing personal friends that I reached out to that I felt like having a conversation with, it would be the best way to do better as clinicians in terms of helping to educate the general public on how we go about serving people. Okay. So, with everything that's happening in social media, I just felt like we as clinicians clearly haven't done a good enough job of explaining the nuances between our certifications and what all of these acronyms really mean. So, I wanted to take some time to explicitly sit down, talk about that, and just have some conversations with my friends. These are my people. So, I have here with me Melissa Dumas. Melissa Dumas is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is also EMDR trained. She's one of the best clinicians I know. I send people to her all the time. There's actually a link for her website on my website because I just send people to her all the time. But Melissa is also amazing in the wellness space. And I wanted to invite her to help people understand what does it look like in terms of where the boundaries fall and how she goes about helping people. So, Melissa, can you please share about yourself, about your background and the type of work that you do?
Yes, thank you for having me. As you said, my name is Melissa Dumaz. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I am also a holistic healing and wellness coach. I have been, oh my goodness, in the mental health field for over 20 years. And every time I say that, I get shocked. It's like, wait, but how old does that make me?
I'm only
But
26.
Right. Exactly. But I've been doing this work for a really long time, and it comes from a place of heart, a place of passion, and with the educational background, the license connected to it. But I love this work, and even if I was not, well, there have been times I have not been paid to do this work, and I still show up and still do this work because I'm passionate about helping other people. But in addition to that, I am a published author, a podcaster. I have a podcast called the Hats Podcast. I'm also married, been married for 16 years. I'm a mom of three. I have three children. One of them is a teenager, one of them is a preteen. So life is wild, and I'm learning new things every day. But that's me in a nutshell. Thank you for asking.
So you mentioned very clearly, you stated you are a licensed marriage and family therapist, and you are also a holistic wellness coach. Can you explain to people the differences between the two and kind of the type of work that you do with both of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as a licensed marriage and family therapist, well, first, I want to talk about being a marriage and family therapist and what does that mean? So, as an MFT or LMFT or licensed marriage and family therapist, what does that mean? I am a therapist that looks at things through the lens of relationship. And so, relationships, sometimes when people hear marriage and family and they think, oh, you only see married couples, oh, you only see families. No, that's not true. I see individuals, I do see couples, licensed marriage family therapists, they can do group therapy, individual, family, couples, those different types of dynamics. And the couples don't have to be married. They could be dating, they could be, sneaky links, or whatever the word is. Like, it doesn't matter what the couple dynamic is. But what it means is that we see everything from the dynamic or from the lens of relationship. And people automatically hear relationship and they think like, oh, but what if I'm not in a relationship? You're in a relationship with yourself. You're in a relationship with how you interact with the world. You're in a relationship with your place of business or your place of employment. You're in a relationship with your friends. So everything that you are connected to, you are in relationship with, even if it's the relationship with yourself. So I'll start there. So that's what it means to work with a licensed marriage and family therapist. They are going to view everything or most things through the lens of being in relationship with you and you being in relationship with other people and other things. Um, the difference between the work that I do as a therapist and a coach. First, I'm licensed in the state of California. So the clients that I see, they either reside in the state of California or they are in California at the time that I provide their services. So that's one. With coaching, coaching is worldwide. The reality too about coaching is that it's not a regulated field. So there's some pros and some cons to that. The pros are that it does give those of us who do the work ethically an opportunity to be able to make impact and to help and to serve people no matter where they live across the world. The challenge with it not being a regulated field is that people do get to do whatever they want, and that starts to create a question. And sometimes people doing the work and clients can find themselves in a position where they've been harmed. So that's the concern with it being unregulated. But with it being unregulated, also, we get to help so many other people. The difference between the two, therapy is a lot of times looking at your past. Even if you come in saying, I'm having this issue today, there may be an opportunity to look back and see, like, where did this issue begin? Did it originate in childhood and family of origin? Where did it come from? And then in coaching, it is more forward facing. We're looking at, okay, this is the issue. We're going to set goals and we're going to move forward. We're not necessarily diving into your past. We're not processing your past. And we're not applying any therapeutic interventions. It is more coaching, motivating, and inspiring and encouraging you to move forward with identifying the problem that has caused you to be in the position that you're in.
That's a great way of making that distinction. In terms of therapy does include kind of looking back, and including what happened and how is that impacting you today and looking forward, whereas coaching primarily starts where you are and focuses on what are you trying to do and what can I do to support you in terms of what you're trying to do. That's an excellent distinction.
Right. And I'll add to that and I'll say there may be times that you're in therapy and your therapist may recommend, like, you know what, you could benefit from working with a coach also. And then there may be times that you're working with a coach and your coach may say, this is out of my scope. You would benefit from having a therapist. And that is working with someone who knows the difference. And that is also working with someone who identifies and knows their limitations. And it's important to know what those limitations are. Just as Dr. Glenna opened up with her sending clients my way, I send clients her way as well. As a therapist, there are times I'm like, Dr. Glenna, I have gone as far as I can with this client with the tools in my toolbox. These are things you specialize in. I think they would be better suited with you. And it is knowing the field, knowing yourself, and knowing what your own limitations are to even be able to make that call. Because ultimately, what's most important is the work that you're doing with your client, not your ego, not how much money you can make by continuing to see this client that you cannot serve. But what's most important is how can I get this client to their goals and get them in the right hands for what they need at this time?
Awesome. As a coach, what type of work do you do? What type of coach do you do? I know I've seen multiple events. I'm planning on coming to the event on the 30th. So share the type of work that you specialize in and that you're able to do as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do events. I do a lot of holistic healing wellness events, and those spaces are generally group spaces. I also host a Black men's healing circle. So in that space, I'm giving people the opportunity to learn some of the tools and the skills that maybe they could learn in therapy, such as deep breathing, journaling, guided meditations, but those aren't skills that are just regulated to therapy. I'm coaching them in a way to teach them through education and to identify what it is that they're challenged with today and how these skill sets can help them with moving forward. I'm not diving into their past. I'm not processing with them. I'm not helping them to unload their challenges or their concerns. Am I an ear? Absolutely. I am an ear for the things that they come in with, but we're not taking a deep dive and we're not processing. And more importantly, I want to speak to the stance in which I show up as a coach and the stance in which I show up as a therapist. They're very different. And Dr. Glenna opened up with talking about the nuances. There are some nuances that I don't even have the language with, but for me, it's an energy that I come into the room with. The energy of who I am as a coach looks very different than the energy that I carry with me as a therapist. And the best way that I could give you the analogy is, let's say you are a professional chef or even a food critic, and you're out to dinner with your family and you're there just to enjoy the meal. You're not there to critique the meal. You're not there to go into the kitchen and work as a chef. And so the stance in which you entered into that restaurant as a paying customer looks very different than the stance that you would enter as a food critic or as a chef. You're there for very different reasons. So knowing and identifying those reasons before you even meet with the person helps you to know, like, these are my boundaries, this is how I'm going to show up. And when I hear things that operate outside of the commitment that I made to show up as a therapist or a coach, I refer out. I don't try to solve or help the problem, even though I have the skill sets to do both. There's different lanes and different arenas for which I interact with the public.
I love it. In terms of like hosting events, providing space, providing people with information, with support, with resources, recognizing that there is a limit in terms of how far that can go. Also acknowledging that I am equipped to do things beyond that limit, but having healthy boundaries in terms of this is what this space is for. And if you're interested in something different, then we need to formally enter into a different space.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that formal intro into that relationship, it comes with informed consent, it comes with legalities, it comes with, a variety of things, just the same as, documentation that you may sign when you go to your doctor's office.
Yes, that was one of the things that I mentioned. One of the biggest distinctions between when you're working with a clinician and when you're working with a coach. Everybody should have some sort of paperwork, something
Right.
you got to sign in. We need your
Agreement.
name, your phone number, and most coaches have some sort of questionnaire when they're going to work with you ongoing, long term. What are your goals? What are you looking for in coaching? How can I best serve you? But licensed clinicians explicitly have what's called informed consent. That is kind of the contract. It says what happens in therapy, what doesn't happen. We cannot have a conversation until informed consent is signed.
Right.
And there is no other term for it. It's like informed consent. No, 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 no.
No,
The name
no.
of the document is informed consent.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
everybody has a little something that gets you in the door, but that's one of those very distinctive pieces. You are not in therapy if you have not signed informed consent. And it's okay to work with the coach with some sort of beginning information to make sure that we're on the same page about the direction
Right.
that things are going in. Great. Can you share if there are any professionals or any people that you need to explicitly distinguish yourself from? For example, like you may do some deep breathing or some like breath work, but maybe you don't do Reiki.
Mhm.
Like are
Mhm.
there other types of kind of neighboring professionals that you would need to actively distinguish yourself from?
Yeah, that's a good question because I do a lot. I do Reiki. I do
Okay.
sound healing. So there's a variety of things that I do, especially in the holistic healing space. And again, just like with as we were talking about coaching, you can take some of those therapeutic skills and use them in coaching. I can
Yes.
take some of those Reiki skills, some of those sound healing skills, and use them, but I may not be your Reiki practitioner, which is a very different relationship from the relationship you have with your therapist. So that is a great question. I'm trying to think. I
But
know.
even that answered it. Even that is like, no, I do this, this, and
Mhm,
this,
mhm.
but I might do it in this capacity.
Right,
Like
right.
even that makes sense. I think the key that I want people to see is that a healthy professional recognizes their bandwidth and their scope of practice and their
Absolutely,
limitations,
absolutely.
that being able to say that's not what I do, that's not a part of my toolbox, it's not a slight to me as a person, I would actually be doing you a disservice if I
Yes.
tried to operate in that capacity.
Absolutely. Yes. And in some cases, I could make the relationship confusing,
Yeah.
especially as a therapist trying to be in relationship with you with any other capacity. It now creates confusion and it also could negatively impact the work that you're doing individually with your therapist.
Yes, which fun fact, everybody, that is called dual relationships. We
Yes. Yes.
we have terms for this
Yes.
because research and history has shown us that when there's overlap in terms of how we interact with people, it causes unhealthy confusion at the detriment of the client. So we are in one type of relationship and that's it.
Right.
And Melissa, you did a great job of sharing how some of these coaching practices can be brought into therapy ethically.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to say, and this is not a knock on coaches because I value coaches. I
Absolutely.
have and have had coaches myself. As I've said, I am a coach, but I do want to distinguish too that a therapist can do work as a coach, but a coach cannot do work as a therapist unless
Correct.
they've been trained and received the proper education and um, work towards licensure to do the work as a therapist. Like there are some things that cross over, but one of them cannot fully cross over into the other field without proper education and training.
Correct. And healthy people will let you know that. Like again,
Yes.
I have said, again, I had a client that I had for a few years and I said I've reached my peak. I need to refer you to someone else and you've done it the other way around. Essentially, it's normal to have a lot of different skills and a lot of different things that you're really good at. But it is also normal and healthy to recognize where your limits are
Right.
and kind of where
Right.
things stop for you.
Yeah.
Um, Help people understand when it's time for them to call you. Because I
Mm.
think that that's another thing that happens. We, as helping professionals, we utilize social media to educate people, to promote and kind of get the word out there. But sometimes people, they don't know how to distinguish, well, who's who and who should I call? Like just the other day, I was like, I'm calling about contacts. And I'm like, well, do I call an optometrist or an
Mm.
ophthalmologist? And I
Right.
did
Yeah.
not know the
I,
difference.
I don't know either.
The receptionist had to put me on hold and ask her coworker. Like
Yeah.
it was all very confusing. So help people understand when they should be calling you to work with you.
Yeah. So if someone is looking to do a deep dive into any type of trauma work, if they're feeling stuck, generally I get a lot of clients who feel like something happened to me at some point in my life, and I told myself I would take it with me to my grave. And I'm realizing that that is not the method in which I want to live because it's still haunting me. So generally they'll reach out and they say, I need a safe space to be able to process this and to unpack what has happened. And in those cases, it is a form of trauma and we will, prepare to do EMDR if they're a good fit for EMDR. But even if they're not a good fit for EMDR, I've been doing trauma work long before I even got trained in
Mhm.
EMDR. If they're having any other mental health concerns, whether that is anxiety, rather that is depression, rather that is stress that is not medically related. And even if they don't know, that is one thing I do in my assessment with clients is we rule out the medical side. And if I hear something that says, you need to go see your primary care physician
Yeah.
because there's some concerns, then I share that and I give that recommendation. But stress can be addressed from the medical side and from the mental health side with a provider, with a licensed clinician, excuse me. So that's generally when people reach out to me. Sometimes clients also just want a safe place to process. They want someone that is emotionally invested into their well-being, but not emotionally invested into their lives like a girlfriend or like a
Yes.
partner. And that is a big difference because I
Yes.
only know what clients come in here, sit on this couch and tell me, or what they show up on Zoom and tell me. And I've even had clients, who will find me on social media, they'll follow me on social media, and I do not follow back. That's another thing I have in my informed consent is what my social media rules are, if you will, because I am on social media. I don't follow back because I only want to know what you bring in here to tell me. Once I'm on your social media page, then now I'm formulating these ideas, these thoughts, these even what's judgments about you.
Yes.
That's not fair to the work
Yep.
that you want to do. The relationship does have a level of neutrality and where I can treat you with unconditional regard, even if you are being dishonest. And the reality too is if you're working with a good therapist, they're going to know when you're being
Yes.
dishonest.
We'd be like,
So,
I'll give you
right.
another month of this, but
Right, exactly, right. Or we even call you out, like, you know what? I really enjoy working with you, but I'll be honest, you're wasting your time and your money. And
yes.
I don't want you to do that. I'm not here to take your money or to waste each other's time.
Yep.
So that's generally, when clients will reach out to me. And when it comes to the coaching side, it's usually someone who's in therapy and realizing like, wait, I'm doing really great work in therapy, but there's these other components to my life that I want to address. And
Yeah.
so where I differ with some of the other therapists or even some of the other coaches, I see things holistically. So even when a client comes to see me for trauma, for example, to process trauma, I'm still asking, what are your eating habits? How are you spending your time?
Yeah.
Are you moving your body? Because therapy isn't just about what's happening with you mentally and emotionally. It's everything that's happening around you and to you. And then
Yeah.
as a coach, where we differ is that we're just working on the challenge, what it's causing you, and we're looking at how we can move forward. Rather that's making changes in your diet, rather that's making changes in your self-care routine, rather that's encouraging you to move your body. And so those would be the two significant differences. And a lot of my individual coaching clients will find me through my group experiences. They'll come to one of those events and they're like, I need this in my life. I have a therapist, but this is very different. I need this in my life more regularly.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time. This is exactly what I had in mind. Like I said, I just felt like if there's so many questions, we as clinicians, we got to do better about educating people, about explaining to people kind of what's what, and really supporting people in getting the help that they need. So, thank you all for watching. I am going to include Melissa's websites, all links, also any links to any relevant events. And again, my name is Dr. Glenna, and therapy is a lifestyle. Thank you very much for joining me.